And we are recording to the cloud. Those of you joining us right now, we are recording this, but you're checking out the Sales Logic Expert Exchange with Brynne Tillman. We're going to get going here in about 20 seconds.
All right, 20 seconds and the countdown begins.
That's amazing. We are precise. We are precise anyway.
I love it.
Hey, thank you everyone who is joining us today on the Sales Logic Mastermind Expert Exchange. Who am I? I'm Mark Hunter, known as the Sales Hunter. My partner, Meredith Elliott Powell, we collectively do the Sales Logic podcast, which has grown into a mastermind group, which has grown in now to the Expert Exchange, and welcoming this month to the Expert Exchange, the LinkedIn Whisperer, Brynne Tillman.
Hey! Thanks for having me, guys.
Anyway,
I'm so excited.
Thank you. So anyway, hey, we've got like 42 minutes max to go through this. And then those of you who are part of the mastermind, of course, you got the link to jump over to the Zoom meeting room for the Q&A, especially with Brynne Tillman. But right now, Brynne, it is your show. Thank you. Welcome to the Sales Logic Expert Exchange with Brynne Tillman.
Awesome. And where did my, there it is.
There you are.
Awesome. Wonderful. Thank you guys both for having me here. I'm so excited. We're actually talking today about a topic that doesn't get enough play because, you know, you can talk about social selling and LinkedIn and all but without a plan, it's just random acts of social. So we're actually going to walk through today the 8 stages of rolling out a social selling program. This is primarily meant for sales leaders with teams, but I have positioned it today that if you wanted to create your own process as an individual contributor, this is designed to help you do that. So most people don't need the why social selling. You guys know that this is a critical piece, but the buyer's journey has changed, and some folks say that the stat has gone up, but Serious Decisions tells us that 67% of the buying process is done before a sales rep even knows they're in the marketplace. What does that mean? That means that they're researching and they're getting content and insights from somewhere. We want to make sure it's us. Do you know, on average, this is just crazy, we look at our phone 85 times a day during the work hour.
Please don't scare me.
I mean, it's crazy, but it is. And so we want to make sure that when people are looking at their phone at the work hour, that we're showing up, right? So that's really the why. And really, this is the evolution of sales. I want to be clear. This is not the replacement of old sales techniques. This is the evolution of traditional sales techniques. So so these are the 8 stages, and then we're going to drill down to each of them. Establishing goals and KPIs. We know we need to do this in sales, but so few people think about doing this for their LinkedIn and social selling activity. Buyer mapping. This is about building a really great list of exactly the types of people that you're looking to engage. And it does include buyers, but it's all the stakeholders, all the influencers inside of the organizations that you are looking to do business with. We need to be able to map that out. Next is, do you have the right tool stack? And the new tool, the new fancy shiny tool is AI. Are we including LinkedIn or Sales Navigator, your AI? And this is also if you've got your sequencing platforms like Gong or SalesLoft, your CRM, all of these need to be working seamlessly together and make sure that you're optimizing the sales tools that you're paying for. Content strategy, no brainer. This is huge. We're going to talk about what that content strategy needs to look like in order. It's really social selling content. There's lots of content out there. We're going to specifically talk about content that converts your connections to conversations. And then how do you customize a playbook with your daily activities? Because if you don't know what you're going to do on a daily activity, you're back to that random acts of social. Before we actually implement that playbook, we want to make sure that our profiles are value-centric. This is your landing page. and your opportunity to show up as a resource and a subject matter expert, ultimately leading to folks seeing you as the vendor of choice. And then we're calling this social selling enablement. It's training, but it's workshopping. It's making sure that people are not just sitting in a room learning it, but they're actually doing it, that we are enabling the social selling techniques and tactics that people need, and measure and coach for improvement. And then we have to keep measuring and coaching for improvement. So why is it paramount? Just one more time, 69% of buyers use LinkedIn to research purchasing decisions. 69% are on LinkedIn looking at your profile, your company's profile. They're searching content and insights. On average, there are 6.8 decision makers in every enterprise sales decision. Right now, if you're not using LinkedIn for this, you are asking your champion, who else should be on this call? And we need to change that. We need to say, hey, champion, these are 7 people that I've identified inside of your company that would typically be on a call. Can we engage them? Can we get connected with them? Can we start to include them? It's a much more effective process. So that's why I'm saying we still need to ask, but we need to help them to see. You can also say, who did I forget? Because they may know someone else that you didn't find. But we need to start using social in order to make sure that we are engaging all the influencers. And one of my favorites, this is a corporate vision study, 74% of buyers choose the sales rep that was first to add value and insights. It is not on price. It is not on price. It is not on price. It is on value and insights. And notice it's first. If you are adding value first, you have a 74% chance of winning that business. I'm not good at math. That's why I went into sales. Random acts of social. We're all guilty of this. We show up, we accept connections, we ask people to connect. Maybe we post content, maybe we like content, but there is no process. And we want to change that today. Because if you are serious about using LinkedIn in your sales process, you need a process. And this, by the way, as we go through this, should integrate into anything your sales coach and trainer is teaching you. Anything, if you have sales leadership, we're going to talk about the social selling process, but this should naturally integrate into the other activities that you are already doing. So we need a goal. And I spent years coming up with what is the one goal that we want LinkedIn to do for us. And it's to start trust-based conversations without being salesy. We have all been victims of the salesy, the connect and pitch. It's a bait and switch. In today's world, it is a trust-based world. It is about making sure that we are working with people that are authentic and honest and not trying to pull the wool over our eyes. And so we need to make sure that we are not abusing this platform, because it is being abused constantly right now. We have all been victims of it. And my goal is that no one on this call will ever be the victimizer. So let's start with establishing KPIs. So what does success look like? What does it look like at the end of the year? If we go, okay, we're going to do a 90-day plan. What does success look like? And that can be different for each of us, right? But success could be, I have had 2 meaningful conversations with qualified buyers every single week. Now, I will say the goals and KPIs for social selling, in my opinion, should always lead to that first conversation with the right person. Then all your other sales goals and KPIs should take over. So there are small goals, right? So, we know that there are goals that we can control, like our activity, right? Our activity we control. And so we want to make sure that our KPIs then so we can't necessarily control that we're getting those 2 calls, but what is the activity that we can control to get those 2 calls? So that's where we have to build out, right? The exact activity that's going to get to the goals, right? And if you are a sales leader and you are running a bigger team, it's got to be the activity from the rep's perspective, the team, including marketing. What are they going to do to help us move this forward? And overall, are we meeting the company goals? So we want to start with, what does success look like from the results goal, and then build back the activities that'll get there. And the activities could be engaging with prospects, asking prospects to vote on polls, interviewing prospects, connecting when you engage with their content, connecting. And I actually used in a training today Mark Hunter as an example around influencer content. So you can search, this is a wonderful activity KPI, you can search all of Mark's followers, not his connections. He has a lot of followers, and you can identify all your first degree connections that follow Mark. Now go listen to a podcast that Mark hosted or was on as a guest, and you can reach out to these folks to start a conversation around that content. So that is not yet creating a conversation, but you're building rapport around an influencer that you both love, right? So keep that in mind. Identifying the organization, department, and reps goals clearly. So, and maybe I have to switch these 2, because we probably should have done that before we articulate the activity to those goals, but it's not just the reps goals or your goals. It's, does it match your department goals? So would those 2 calls generate the business based on your other statistics, what your department needs to meet? And then does that align with what the organization is looking for you to achieve? So that's all about establishing your goals and KPIs. And the more detailed you can get, which by the way converts into that playbook that we'll talk about a little bit later, the more successful you will be. So buyer mapping. This is so important and so easy to do on LinkedIn, right? Who are all your stakeholders? And by the way, look at your CRM. Who is everyone that has been involved throughout your buyers and sales cycle? And grab those titles, right? There are the people that hold the wallet. There are the shoppers. There are the influencers. There are the gatekeepers that are involved in a lot of this, right? We want to identify everyone we engage with, because we want to make sure that we are now recording all of those titles and even some keywords, right? So they may not have specific words that we're looking for in their title. For example, I look for sales enablement. That may not be in their title, but I look for those keywords. So I identify, here are my buyers that I love to work with that have been very successful. And what are some of the keywords that they're putting in their skills that we can go find them, not just with titles. Then we need to define all the additional, like, do I have a territory by location? Do I have defined companies? Maybe I have 40 companies that I'm responsible for. Now, with all of that information, if you have the free LinkedIn, we need to develop strong Boolean search strings to be able to identify exactly who it is that we're looking to connect with. If we have Sales Navigator, it's way easier, right? And then in the buyer mapping, when we're doing this research, we want to start to pinpoint the business challenge for each of those stakeholders. We should have that in notes in our CRM. We should. And if by the way, you're a new rep, there is information in that CRM that you may be able to get access to be able to help you identify this, even if you have not experienced it yet. And so once we've got this buyer mapping down, so we know exactly who we're going after, and we know exactly what their business challenges is for each of them. Because remember, each of those buyers, each of those influencers care about something different. And so you need to really pinpoint what the different challenges are. Also, English, not my best language, my only language, but not my best one. And you know, so we need to identify those. Then we're going to go into tool stack. So this, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on tool stack, but for me, my tool stack is I have Calendly.com, so incredibly important. I have getmagical.com, which is a free Chrome extension that will store all of your prompts for AI, all of your templates, and recall them into wherever you need them, anywhere on Chrome or Edge with shortcode. It's magic. You would like having an advocacy or an amplification site for a company is really important. Grammarly is really important, right? And there are other tools which I don't have here and I need to add, which is the AI. So we are currently using Chat GPT, but in 3 weeks, I'll be using AskSSL.ai, which will be our own AI platform. Obviously, you need the CRM, and then you choose LinkedIn, Premium, or Sales Navigator, or Instagram, or Facebook, or whatever the platform is where your buyers are hanging out. You're going to be shocked at how many tools, if you're a company, how many tools you're paying for that you're not using or that you're under leveraging. And this is important. You really want to take a look at those. All right, this is the fun piece, the content strategy. So first, we need to have a very clear understanding about what your content needs to do as a social seller. It needs to lead to your solution, not with your solution. When you lead with your solution, you're pitching, whether you know it or not. And when you start with, we help clients just like you, you're pitching. So leading to your solution is they get to experience the value that you bring. And there's an old saying from an old sales training company that is a little outdated in my opinion that will say, never give away free consultation. And I'm going to tell you right now that in today's world with YouTube and with Reels and with video, if you're not giving that away, your competitor is. So I'm not saying give away your paid stuff, but give them just enough to feel like that was a great use of their time. And we call this mastering the ask offer ratio. You are asking them to invest their time, the one resource they can never get back, into consuming your content. And there's one of 3 outcomes. Number 1, that was a bait and switch. All you did was want to try to sell me. Number 2, that was neutral. I didn't learn anything new. It doesn't hurt your reputation, but it doesn't lead to conversations. And number 3 is compelling. If we can move them from lurker to engager, we're pulling them out of the woodwork. Maybe they like our comment or ask us to connect or accept our connection request or follow us or, ultimately, or reply to a message we sent. When we create that compelling moment, we can actually start conversations with people. If our content isn't doing it, it's not social selling content. It's content, but it's not social selling content. You need to have a content strategy and curation sources. The ratio is 10 to 2 to 1. You need to engage 10 times, curate 2 pieces of content, and share 1 piece of original content in the week. Now, if you've got amazing content, that's original content, and it's working, absolutely, we can discuss if you want to share more original content. But you want to curate and share 2 pieces of content that will attract your buyers that are from a non-competitor, because when they see you are sharing other content, all of a sudden you become more of a resource than a salesperson. However, 10 times is the engagement. That's how many times you react or comment on your prospects' content. Because they are sharing content because they want engagers. And if you look, they probably have 3 likes and 2 comments, and you're like 4th. And then if you have a really meaningful comment, that means more than any content you could ever share with them. So keep that in mind. And you really, if you're a company, you need an advocacy process for your reps, right? So this is that as a company, you've got really great content for them to promote that's not about your products and services. If you are an individual, this could just be, great content, but advocacy is you've got all, and I say for reps here, again, I'm going to update this because this should be everyone in the company should be promoting valuable content that leads back to your solution. Not all the time, but maybe once a week, you're sending something out that can help you recognize every single employee you have on LinkedIn is a microsite, right? You pay a lot of money to keep up that website, but you're going to get more traffic collectively from LinkedIn sites, from your prospects, and from your, those client-facing people. You want to make sure they're positioned well, and that just the profile itself is advocating the values and the resource piece of your organization. You need to customize a playbook. And I wasn't going to share this, but I'm happy to share this. If you go to socialsaleslink.com/day, it's an ebook that's, it's a day in the life of, it's like the day in the life of what I do, of a social seller. It is not a full-on playbook. I just want to make that clear, because a playbook is really going to not only tell you the daily and weekly activities, but it's going to give you how many, how often, and in a really great playbook, what times of the day. And what I'm going to say is the only thing that should replace this, your daily prospecting activities, is an actual call with a prospect. You have to treat these activities as if they're client calls. You would not reschedule a prospect call unless there was an actual emergency. You have to think about that as your daily activity. You want to make sure that you're aligning your LinkedIn messages and your phone scripts. Make sure if you send a LinkedIn message and you call, say, I'm following up on a LinkedIn connection request. If you call, please look for my LinkedIn, first, please look for my LinkedIn connection request. I want you to bridge the two, because the more you do that, the more likely they are to engage. So make sure they're aligned. You have to use proven message templates. Do not go to AI and say, please write me a connection request. You have to make sure that what you are sending are actual templates that have been tested and proven. And then you need to develop the scalable, repeatable cadence. It's really important, because otherwise we land back in that random acts of social.
Brynne, we have had a question pop in here and asking if you could share the link to the playbook again.
Yes, I will type it.
Great, thank you.
Yes, absolutely. And and it's not a full-on, that's why it's an ebook. I don't want you to think that this is what your playbook should look like. This is the start of a playbook, but it'll give you an idea about those daily activities. So then there's the values-centric profile, right? And so now we've got everything in place. We need to make sure before we implement any of these strategies that we've got our profile really set up, and we need to switch it from a resume to a resource. The profile needs to resonate and create curiosity right in your headline. Just like a newspaper headline, the goal is for them to want to keep reading it. So it's got to get them to lean in, right? Then you've got to grow your credibility. You can do this through your featured section with content. You can do this. And by the way, don't pitch in your featured section. This is value. But if you were a guest on a podcast and you think you nailed it, man, you were awesome, add that. If you have an ebook or even a LinkedIn post that has gotten enormous responses because it was so valuable, add that to your featured section. This is where you start to grow that credibility. You also want to grow credibility in your recommendations. 2 ways, by the way. So you want to recommend your vendors and your clients, and you want to get recommended. All of this will grow credibility. And then I will have people say, well, is anyone really looking? Yes, they are. And by the way, we are teaching people today in the pre-call planning. I'm going to give you a little extra tip today. So the goal is that hundreds of thousands of people in the next few years will be doing this because we've taught them. You can PDF anyone's LinkedIn profile and you can stick it in ChatGPT. And now we have a prompt, but a simple prompt like, I'm going to be meeting with this person. I'm looking for some pre-call planning. What should I know going into the meeting? And you upload that PDF and it will tell you all those things. So why am I saying that when we're talking about value-centric profile? Because I'm going to teach people to do that to your profile. Right? So we want to make sure that this is really clear and what they get is value, real value. We need to relate to the buyer's challenges, not pitching our stuff, but here are all the challenges. And by the way, here are some insights. How do I get you to learn something new that gets you thinking differently about the way you're doing business today? Because that will get engagement. And then we have to ask them to do something. It could be a call, a conversation. It could be, if you're in marketing, it might be download a resource. But they're excited now. They learned something new. Make sure they know what to do next or they'll be gone. Right? Really, really important. And there's a few places to have those calls to action. And then there's training or social selling enablement. So this is now, how do I do this, right? Customized for me, like what does it look like? We talk about instructor-led classrooms on demand. There are so many on-demand LinkedIn courses, whether you do them through LinkedIn Learning, you learn on YouTube. We have on demand. I actually did a class with Mark on his portal on demand webinars. Right? But there's a ton that's out there. Just learn, right? Go out and learn. And then there's like the just-in-time learning or guided learning. And if you have questions around that, I'm happy to share. And, we're going to be a little early, which is very, but we'll talk through this. So measure and coach for improvement. Now, if you are an independent entrepreneur or salesperson, you need to hire yourself a coach. You have to. Otherwise, we are going to be lost in running our business and we're not going to sell. And it's the consistency. So this is like step one is you've got to find, so the reps need to find their leadership. They need to have an accountability. If they're managers, if you are a rep and your manager isn't doing this, find another rep where you can keep each other accountable and really consider investing in a coach. You need to lead with data. So if you in coaching, whether you're the coach or, you're finding each other accountable, you need to focus on how many new of the right people have I connected with? Back to KPIs, right? What are those key KPIs? And are we measuring to those KPIs? And by the way, we need to focus on real deals, real conversations. This cannot be esoteric or it won't move forward, right? So the data needs to be on real opportunities. And then here's the goal of each of these coaching meetings. What am I not doing that I need to start doing? What do I need to stop doing? And what am I doing really well that I need to continue doing? And the reason is we put together a plan, and that plan is dynamic. That plan, it is so important that we hyper focus on making sure that those activities are leading to the activity goals, are leading to the results goals. The results goals, which is to schedule more calls with your qualified stakeholders, are turning into real deal opportunities. And you need to find out where the breakdown is if they're not. So just reviewing again, and I know we're a little early. I apologize. I'm not sure how we want to proceed from that, but we need to.
We've got plenty of stuff for you, Brynne. So go ahead and come through these 8 again here real quick.
We can do questions, and I got a million questions.
We got several.
Okay, that's great. So we're gonna go back to establish goals and KPIs. Buyer map. Make sure you've got the right tools in place, that you've got a great content strategy for curation, engagement, and creation of content. Have that playbook. Make sure your profile is value-centric, that you've got the training that you need in order to execute on that playbook, and that you have a coach or a partner, an accountability partner, so that you are ensuring that all the things that you have said you're going to do, you're actually going to do, and then you're going to identify if they were the right things and tweak appropriately. So I'm just going to share this real quick, and then we can open up to everything you want. And actually, if you would share even in chat, put a number 1 if you're like, I got everything I really needed. I'm so excited. I'm ready to go. And I am going to start implementing a plan.
Brynne, chat is disabled in this event right now. We'll have to do that in Q&A. So go ahead and do what Brynne's asking you to do. Just throw it into the Q&A.
Oh, okay. Very good. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So in Q&A, put a number 1 if you're like, I got what I need. This was great. And you might have. If you are really good at LinkedIn, you may have gotten enough information today to really put together a social selling plan. Number 2, this was great, but I'm just not ready. This was fun. I learned a lot, but I'm not ready to really implement a social selling plan, and that's okay. You will eventually, and you will when your pipeline is low and you want more client referrals. But if it's not now, that's okay. Put number 2. If you're like, I love this, but I need some more guidance, I'm happy to talk with you. This is a conversation. I'm not selling you anything except time with me where I can help you. And it's if you go to socialsaleslink.com/GTM for go-to-market. So that's socialsaleslink.com/GTM. I'm happy. And there's a lot of people on here, so I'm going to be really, really busy. But if that's you, you put in a number 3, and I'm very happy to help. So now I'm going to stop sharing and we'll hop into some Q&A. I hope that was valuable.
Really valuable.
Yes, it was. Yes, yes. Hey, Meredith, why don't you tell people real quick about why we do this? And then we got some questions.
It was Mark, while we were sitting here, I was chatting with a couple of our Sales Logic Mastermind members, and you can see from talking with Brynne today, I mean, sales is just in a state of evolvement, constantly changing. And I think one of the biggest challenges with salespeople out there right now is that you're doing things, you're working hard, but you're just not getting results. And so Mark and I wanted to offer a monthly Sales Logic Experts series. So you get to see people like Brynne. But we also, for our very select Sales Logic Mastermind, a group that Mark and I put together of a committed community, we meet on a monthly basis, give a little bit of education. offer some unbelievable software with some incredible tools. But that group gets a little extra time with Brynne and with our sales logic mastermind members. So everybody in the expert series, we wanted to put that together. So one thing we want you to do today is really consider finding out more about the sales logic mastermind.
Okay, Brynne, I got a question for you. A couple people asked LinkedIn Premium, LinkedIn Navigator.
Yeah.
How important is that?
So I would say it's important, but you don't have to start with it. So there are some limitations. There are some limitations in notes that you can put in connection requests and how many searches you can do. LinkedIn's pretty smart to know that you are using it for something other than networking, right? So they will tell you when you've hit a commercial limit, and at that point you may consider Premium or Sales Navigator. I happen to be a huge Sales Navigator advocate. The search function inside of Sales Navigator is unbelievable. And when my corporate clients have Sales Navigator, the SDRs and the account reps can share leads, can communicate through there, and then have that all sync into their CRM. And so there's a great value in that. But what I would say is if you are new to this, stick with the free at first, right? It's like you get a driver's license, you're not going to get a Ferrari. And Sales Navigator is the Ferrari. So practice in what's a good, my kids started with a Ford Escort.
Yeah, there you go. Start there.
I was going to say, that's the same thing I told my son when he got his driver's license. This does not include a Ferrari. Yeah. So thank you.
Okay. Hey, Brynne, I've got a question. And because I'm not sure I'm doing things right. So do you use is what you're talking about with social selling on LinkedIn? Like I take my prospect list, my top 100 for the year that Meredith is going to go after this year. I make sure I am connected with all of those people on LinkedIn. And then as I nurture that along, those are the people I'm commenting on. I'm almost working this like a traditional sales process. It just happens to be online.
Yes,
okay.
Exactly. There's very little philosophical difference.
Yeah.
It's just access at scale.
Yeah. And you know, something I love about it whenever I talk to people who are resistant to it is on days where I am pressed for time, I can have so much impact so quickly.
Yes.
It's just, it is really unbelievable. And then I have been amazed this year how much through putting the content out there, like you were talking about from an expert standpoint, how many times I've gotten more corporate work that way. And by the time I was on with the CEO just last week, and he was talking about bringing me in, and he pointed out everything he wanted me to say from everything he'd already heard me say online. Talk about giving it away. I'd already given it all away. He just wants me to come in and repeat it to his team. And if I hadn't given it away, he never would have hired me.
That's how you earned the right.
Yeah.
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 But we can't, but yeah. Brynne, jump in, go.
Like today, I gave it away, and there are a lot of people that are like, got a number one. I love it. Because if you could do this on your own, I want you to. And I think there was one or two that's like, hey, I may need some help, and we'll talk and we'll explore if I can help you. And if I can, great. If it's not a fit, that's fine too. But I'm going to say that I earned the right for those folks, right, that want to have a conversation with me. But I also only want to have the conversation with people that go, I see this in my company. I see how this, right? And so when you give away a lot of value, you're also qualifying.
Brynne, that's what I was going to say, because LinkedIn does a great job by sharing the content, getting the conversation going. It allows you to qualify. What we can't do is allow LinkedIn to do everything for us, social media to do all of it. The phone call is still absolutely important because, Mayor, that's where you make it work. You connect with these top 100. You engage with them over the course of the year, but you're also reaching out to them. You are connecting with them. Time does get the best of us, but boy, we never let it get 100% of us.
So can I just share today?
Yes.
I got a message from someone that I just connected with that had a question about LinkedIn. And And I went to type, and then I realized his phone number was on his LinkedIn profile.
Mm.
So I just called, and he's like, "This is really Brynne?"
Yeah.
I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Wait, really? Like, this is you?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I went to type the answer, but I actually need a little clarification before I get like, right." And like blown away. Now, I don't know if he'll become a client ever, if he'll refer business, but my job was to bring value. And I picked up the phone. Like, it's okay. Like, this is why that aligned. And I have this in here. Social selling is also being social. And the phone is included in that. And by the way, email is included in that. And maybe texting and maybe Instagram if that's where your people are, right? It's like there is no one channel that works for everyone.
Yeah.
That is so spot on, because as I always like to say, I want to take the online connection and turn it into the offline conversation. In other words, the telephone call. And that's exactly what you're talking about.
Or I'm a big
or
Zoom.
Whatever.
Let's get on a Zoom.
Right.
Yep. But
Right.
It's to take it off of LinkedIn to one-on-one conversation.
Right. Hey, we've only got about 1 minute left here. If people want to reach out to you, Brynne, where can they go?
So I'm on LinkedIn, but also
that's good.
Yeah, but I would say if you want to reach out and you want to have a conversation, go to socialsaleslink.com/GTM and we'll talk, because I like phone calls, Zoom calls. It would be a Zoom call.
Excellent. And we put the link for that ebook that you did. We put that into the Q&A also. So, Mayor, we've got people waiting for us, our Sales Logic Mastermind members waiting for us over on the other line. And hey, check out Sales Logic Mastermind. This is the type of activity that you get to participate in so many other ways. We have so many other platforms, so many tools. Go to saleslogicpodcast.com. That's kind of our landing. That's kind of where this all began, from a podcast. And saleslogicpodcast.com, you'll find all the information as to how you too can get into the Sales Logic Mastermind. Brynne, thank you so much. Mary, you want to put a bow on this?
Yeah, I do, because I want to talk to Brynne. This was amazing, as you always are. It's never a surprise to me. I don't know anybody who knows more about social selling, and you're definitely my go-to person for it. But it is, I want to say to the people out there thinking about joining Sales Logic Mastermind, kind of on the fence about it. We're about to go behind the wall, back the curtain. And this is really where you get your one-on-one time. These are kind of like the best parts of being a part of Sales Logic Mastermind. So if you need a community, if you need a group of people to be a part of, if you want to drive your sales in 2025, go to Sales Logic Podcast, check out the mastermind. We'll see you there. All right. Now it's time to go behind the curtain, and we'll
yes.
We'll follow up with you. All right. Thanks so much.